Good morning, Chief.
Good morning.
It's great to see your face shining like that. I wish I could see
Ah,
your shoes, but then
shoes, slippers.
I know it's a case of your face shows, your shoe shines.
Abi.
Mm. So I believe the wind of blessings are blowing from Buckingham Palace to you, to your side.
Well, I wish.
It takes time to get here, but you guys that are very close to Buckingham.
No, we are not very close. We are about 1 hour 40 minutes.
Oh, you are still closer than those of us down here, and I could
Ah,
actually
okay.
feel it. I could feel it. So don't give other stories.
Okay. I agree.
Good morning, Mr. Kazim. Thanks for being a good friend, a lovely brother, an astute professional colleague, and highly cerebral, with mix of big levels of humility and devotedness to serving God. Thanks so much for all
Ah,
you do.
thank you.
And I've known you to be a political juggernaut in the field of nursing profession, but then that's off for now. We're not going to push in there today. So what
No.
we are here for are the things we go. So let's hear you saying hi to my audience, to to viewers at
Okay.
home.
Okay. Thank you, my sister. Well, my name is Okoyemi Kazim, and I'm a registered nurse and a registered mental health nurse. I currently work in East Sussex Healthcare NHS Trust. Been practicing for 16 years as a nurse. Like many of us, I only recently moved to the UK to in the last 4 years plus. Prior to that, I was in Nigeria working like everybody else. I was largely involved in the union back then, but I'm living an easy life here now. No
Easy
union stress.
life. When you are big, you are big. See the level of bigness, mental
No,
health nurse, big professional years accrued, and you are living in this society, which is very close to the place we are talking about, very close to King Charles. You are quite big, my
well,
brother. Thank you,
I
and you will
wish,
not go
I
down.
wish. Amen.
So why we are here
I
today? We are
wish.
here today because of something very important, integral to
Okay.
the life of any internationally educated nurse that really want to make it, if this is their career focus in the field of nursing practice, if this is part of what they are thinking about. And I know you are into this big time. You step into that shoe, or you stepped into those
Yeah.
shoes, and you are quite stepping right without being pinched on any side. So that is why you are here to tell us what it is all about. What's
Okay.
your part?
Okay.
Advanced nurse practitioner or advanced clinical practitioner. So who are they? AMP, ACP, who are they?
Oh, thank you very much. Basically, advanced nurse practitioner or advanced clinical practitioner is basically the same thing. The only difference is it is only clinical practitioners who are nurses that sometimes go by advanced nurse practitioner. But in general, we are all called advanced clinical practitioners. The level of practice doesn't entail only nurses. There are physiotherapists, there are pharmacists, there are occupational therapists, nurses at this level of practice. And in the near future, they're trying to co-opt some other members of the multidisciplinary team to take this level. It's a unique model or pathway of operation that was brought about because of the requirement to continue to upskill the working population. And it's been an ongoing thing for decades here in the UK. And hopefully, it will be soon back home in Nigeria because
Okay.
I understand that it is already, there are background what's going on, which I'm involved to an extent.
Great. Thank you so
All right.
much.
So,
Mhm.
yes.
Go on ahead. We just want to know everything about it.
Oh, okay. So regarding the advanced clinical practitioners or advanced nurse practitioners, for those who are nurses, it's a master level training or its equivalent. And it's basically requiring you to fulfill a level of independence, autonomy, and knowledge, including research, which is actually a major requirement of this role. The idea was brought about by Health Education England, and what they're actually looking for is to make sure that there are people at this level of practice across the clinical setting, not necessarily within the hospital or at the GP surgeries, like most people assume. There are advanced clinical practitioners at every level of clinical practice, at every setting of clinical practice. General is to go extra mile beyond the registered nursing responsibility, and you should have the inherent ability to conceptualize, formulate, design, and implement an advanced level of care for a patient. It's individualized care for a patient. And the care is not limited to the hospital. It's actually all encompassing from the hospital to the discharge to the community or to the patient's primary place of residence. And actually, you're still following up. So it's beyond just learning to, like most people assume that it's just about sitting down and clocking. No, it's way beyond that. An advanced level of practice varies depending on your area of specialties. For you to achieve this qualification, you must, by requirement of the HEE, have a master level qualification at level 7. Your training is at level 7. Though when you qualify, you work at a level 8, but your training is at a level 7. So basically, while in training, you're a trainee advanced clinical practitioner. As part of our training, we are required to be able to do complete physical assessment and at an advanced level. You should be able to infer information from what you see, from what you find out from the patient, and you should be able to synthesize this together and prefer solution. Mind you, you're working as a member of the MDT. It's not all about you. If you're in need of the service of other members of the MDT, you let them know. For instance, if in one of my practice I discovered that a patient might be having something more cynical, a patient who's never had a serious heart problem, and then I'm worried, oh, this might be a major deal, maybe a potential case of let's think cardiology now, say a bad case of mitral regurgitation and it's not been diagnosed. Well, in as much as I could decide that, oh yeah, this is serious, it is not really advisable according to my scope of practice to go ahead and say I'm going to start treating.
Yeah.
So that's why you're a member of the team. So in this kind of situation, what we do is you refer to your cardiologist, or your cardiologist can come in and work with you together,
Okay.
give you suggestions, you document the suggestion from the cardiologist, and then you go ahead with the plan. So you're not independent on some things, you're independent on some other things. It's also a requirement that you are able to do your prescription at an independent level. And this is actually one of the most rigorous aspects of our training. We actually do our training, the prescription training, with a certified GP who also has education qualification. Most of them are consultants or someone who is also practicing at advanced clinical level, who is also certified to be an educator. Because part of our curriculum is that we should be able to educate. There are 4 pillars of advanced practice. Research is one major part of it. Education is another part of it. Clinical practice is another one. Leadership and management is another one. So if you look at it, you are an entity. However, you still work in conjunction with other people when necessary.
Hmm.
Okay.
That is big. And kudos to you, sir. Hats off. And this only happens when you have someone who have the grasp of what they are actually into. And my head swells, honestly, Mr. Kazim. You are one out of millions, and I must say
Okay.
I quite appreciate it. This is not just pumping you up or popping you up, because I know you to be a very an humble person. So it's not to pop you up at
Thank
all.
you.
It's just to give honor to whom honor is due. I appreciate you. You've touched so many
Thank
areas,
you.
and I have some questions if you really don't
Okay,
mind.
yeah,
How can
I'll be
one
glad
get
to.
into these? Can I self-sponsor into it, or do I need someone
Okay,
to sponsor me? And if I need someone to
okay,
sponsor me, or if I'm self-sponsoring, do I need a particular number of months or years of exposure to nursing job, nursing practice before I could push into this?
okay, okay. I should mention that according to HEE, one of the underpinning standard of this discipline is to improve clinical governance and clinical practice. So there is a set requirement for anyone who wish to go into this. Your years of experience matters. And we would generally advise that you specialize or you go into it only when you attain certain level of practice. Some universities will require you to practice at certain level for 2 years. Some would say 3 years. Some would say post qualification. If you think you're up for it, 3, 4 years, you could go. Now, this is where it gets more interesting. If you're going into it, you should consider what are you really looking out for? Why are you going into it? Because we don't just go into it just because, oh, I want to do this course. You must have something that is different from what is already on ground that you should be able to offer.
Hmm.
So this is because when you're speaking with your management and you want them to consider going for such course, they will ask you why, and they will also consider your experience. These are requirements. However, there are instances where, for budgetary, for availability of slots, or maybe staffing level or anything, your management might say, oh, we cannot afford to sponsor you for this course. If your management of your trust says so, or there are other alternatives, the other alternatives are Health Education England, Public Health England. There are other means of funding that you could access. If, however, you're unable to access funding on all these other grounds, yeah, you can self-sponsor. However, it is important. In fact, it's 100% a requirement that you still get the nod of your employer, not necessarily financially in this situation, but to support you clinical wise, because your clinical practice is really, really important. And you need the service, you need to be trained, you need to be mentored. Yeah, I hope you understand what I'm so you
Yeah, I
really
got
still need
it.
your employer. Only this time around, you don't need them to pay your tuition fee
Yeah.
if that explains it. But you can go ahead with it. If you think this is not possible, the other alternative is take the program in modules instead of going for the full MSc apprenticeship route or MSc ACP route. You can actually go for it in modules. So instead of going for the whole course, you can take a module. The first module we always advise is physical assessment, because with physical assessment you understand the nitty-gritty of checking a patient, clocking a patient, knowing what you're looking out for, what is normal, what is abnormal. Luckily for us, our curriculum in Nigeria, in our medical surgical nursing, is very rich. If you're very good in Nigeria with your medicine and surgery, your anatomy and physiology, I think you will have a very good pursuit to this program. So the physical assessment is there. When you do your physical assessment, you are able to check. Even without practicing as an ACP on your ward, you could easily check. There are instances where you're working with maybe newly qualified medical professionals, or maybe off-peak period where there are no medical professionals around, and there is something that needs to be assessed. You are there, so you can do it. So you want to go in. You want to check. When you have concern, you raise to the doctor. That's even why you're working on the ward as a registered nurse.
Yeah.
So that way you're already building your confidence gradually, and you're already knowing how to what work with as a member of the team, because that's very vital and safe.
Mhm.
Then you take module by module. By the time you do your physical assessments, you do your prescribing. You want to take a module in education. You want to take a module in research. Before you consider your, I mean, finally your final year, you do a research dissertation or a service improvement project. So that's another way. So
Thank you so
basically,
much.
there are no rigid ways. Just make sure you're taking this one step at a time.
Yeah, one step at a time. Thank you so much. I do appreciate that. Was quite explicit. And how long does this training last?
Or 3 to 6 years.
Three
The
to
same for
six
that.
solid years.
Yes. So this is it. Being an advanced clinical practitioner is has to do a lot with competence, because you're going to be dealing with life.
Mm-hmm.
In a lot of situations, you'll be independent.
Yeah.
We the training is structured such that it's safe for the patients.
Hmm.
So the length of training will offer you opportunity and time to acquire knowledge, to acquire experience, and also to understand your scope of practice. And it's always very important that we don't go beyond our scope of practice. When you're not sure, it's always expected that you refer or you discuss with other members of the team who are more in tune with what's going on than you are, and then you can discuss it together. So it's 3 to 6 years for the program.
That's big. So, what differentiates someone who goes in for MSc 1 year, 1.5 years to or from this person going for AMP or ACP stuffs for 3 to 6 years?
Okay, so there are many trainings at master level, and each of those training is designed to fulfill certain purposes. Say, for instance, someone is coming from Nigeria, is coming to UK to come and study MSc nursing. That's not the same level of practice like somebody who is doing MSc in ACP or MSc in EMP or MSc at those levels. The curriculum, and I mean, basically, the content of the curriculum is different, and the level of training and practice is also very different. If you observe, there is level 6, there is level 7, and then there's PhD. You could see a master degree that is still at level 6. It's not still the same as a master degree at level 7, though they will be very close, but there will be element of difference. There is a level. I mean, I'm not really into the education thing, but you could see that the requirements to fulfill these qualifications are a bit different. And that's why even in the UK, they are strata in that level. For instance, in America, being an ACP, you spend 2 years. I think after 6 years of experience, you spend 2 years for full time and you spend 2 to 6 years for part time. But there are other master level even in the US that you cannot use to equate those ones. So it's the same like that.
Okay. Thank you so much. I do hope people from home are getting much
Yeah.
information as they need to jump into this if it is what they need. You've mentioned
All
four
right.
areas of to touch when you are taking this program. But are there
Yeah.
specific courses that you take in there when you are in the program?
Yes. You know, there are the element of advanced clinical practice itself is leadership and management,
Yeah.
one, research,
Yes.
education,
Yeah.
and leadership and management and clinical practice. The last one is clinical practice. Those four elements are the basis of the curriculum. The curriculum itself now contains a lot of mandatory modules and there are some modules that are not mandatory. Mandatory modules will involve, say, managing complexity in advanced practice. Sorry, pardon me for that. But managing complexity in advanced practice, you're talking, so that alone tells you about you're dealing with a lot of things. You're dealing with a patient with multiple needs. You're dealing with, you're taking modules like advanced physical assessment. You're taking modules like a practitioner as an health educator, because basically you'll be into education once you're an ACP. You understand? So another one could be that you want to go into specialism. For those in cardiology as ACPs, they can decide to go into cardiology. Some in respiratory, some could decide to go into acute medicine, some could decide to go into frailty practice. Some could, it's so varied. We will all be together in the classroom. There are mental health professionals too in the same classroom. However, when you start going to the field to practice, what you do on the field differs. That's what differentiates all of us. So these modules are there. There are some other modules that are not compulsory, but they will form part of your overall assessment. You only need to choose if one or two of them.
Okay.
So those are the modules within the program.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kazim.
You're welcome. Yeah.
You did tell us that if you are competent or you are good with your medical surgical nursing back at home, then it's not going to be very, very difficult for someone to cope in this program, right?
No, it won't be difficult. Actually, it will facilitate your understanding of why you are there. However, you still have a bit to add up because, like I said, curriculum differs. And the system of examination back home is for you to go into the exam hall and write exam.
Yeah.
Here is beyond just writing exam and pass.
Mm.
You are going to, yes, if you observe the Bloom's taxonomy of learning, knowledge and understanding are the rudiments. There is an aspect where we will be talking about synthesis and application. Though that's something that you will need to do at this level. So, I mean, most of us are familiar with Bloom's taxonomy. It's something we did mention in the nursing school. So you will understand the hierarchy of understanding that you're looking at. It's beyond just read, know, write, exam, pass.
Mm.
Because in real life, experience is way better than just abstract knowledge or theoretical knowledge.
Yeah. Very, very. So, thank you. Assuming
Yeah.
someone decides to take this program on their own and it's going to be touching their
Yes.
wallets, what should be their projection of how much they'll be spending?
Well, I will start with this. Prioritize taking the course with the support of your employer, including funding from your employer or HEE or any form of sponsorship you can get out there. Prioritize that. If worst case scenario, you have to pay through the post. Well, the tuition fees generally will range from 9,000 to 15, 16,000, depending on the school, depending on your status as a student. It depends depending on your resident status too. However, on the long run, there are costs you will accrue that will not be in part of the tuition fee. You're getting uniform, you're transporting yourself, you are doing your program. Mind you, every day you're in the class or that you're in the a clinical posting, you're not getting paid. Those are also costs.
Hmm.
Yes, because if you're actually working somewhere, you'll be paid for that same hour, you get paid.
Yeah.
So overall, I would say in that period, you will lose. I don't know if the right word is lose, but you will be coughing out roughly between that 9 to about another 25, 30,000. But much of the money will be money you couldn't earn because you're somewhere else.
Okay. Thank you
But
so
it's
much.
still a worthy
So,
sacrifice if you have to do it.
yeah, thank you. Are there portions of the courses you are taking there that are very, very difficult or that you
Oh, yes.
yourself do not really enjoy? You don't like them?
Well, I don't think I'm allowed to say I do not enjoy one, but like every student, there are modules, there are courses you love more than the other.
Yeah.
I'm a student of biology. I've always loved biology. I've always loved numbers. Say, for instance, when I was doing the research module, I was very happy with my quantitative aspect of my research, but I struggled with my qualitative aspect of my research.
Okay.
So I had to take up extra classes,
Yeah.
trainings, meet
Yeah.
librarians, meet tutors to help me, to enlighten me more. And when you're dealing with the essays, it's different because in our own system of education in Nigeria, we're not used to essays all the time. So it was a bit of a challenge for me.
Challenge.
But
Yeah.
then the fact that I was willing to learn, I was open, and I was willing to go extra mile to meet people to enlighten me more. That really facilitated my assessment, and I think I did pretty well in some I not satisfactorily, but then I think I still did enough
You
to
pushed
satisfy the
through.
university.
You
Yeah.
really pushed through.
And then we have very challenging modules. If you're not good with pharmacology, you will struggle with the prescribing modules.
Hmm.
Yeah, your pharmacology has to be sound.
Yeah, it must really be sound because actually at my place of work, there's someone I used to, if there are some pharmacological needs, and maybe
Yeah,
we've got GPs everywhere, busy, 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 or then, or maybe it is one of those areas that are their areas. I'm really, really very much happy whenever I signpost a patient, or whether I'm
to them.
signposting a patient to her. She's always here, and her pharmacology is like, if you've had those exposures in Nigeria, you've gone through Mustafa and you
Yeah,
moved away from Mustafa, you've been at the uni and you studied in some pharmacological department, then there are some things that you will be very happy when people are doing and they are doing them right. So I really do enjoy her. So I
yeah.
really see what you are saying there. Thank you so much, Mr. Opeyemi. Let's talk about life work balance in
Okay.
this.
Well, for me, it's a bit of a challenge because I'm going through the process on my own. I have the support of my employer, but financially, I'm my own support.
Hmm.
And that's not because they don't want to support, it's solely because the, there is a you first, you're not the only one who wants to study the course. And probably there are people who are even more experienced than you are. However, the fact that I have 16 years in practice, the fact that I still have the requirement to go for it was a form of encouragement to me. So the thing is, it's a bit of a challenge because you have to balance work, school, and family. You're spending your time off in school. You're spending the few times you should have with at home. You're dividing it between school, work, and family. However, one way I have been able to adjust to this is, like we all know, our shift pattern. I have dropped my extra duties.
But you're
Yeah,
big already. You actually don't need extra duty.
I
So you
wish
don't have
I'm
to
big.
don't worry about that again.
In fact, I accept the bigginess. I wish I'm big and I accept it because we don't know when the angel is passing. But
Okay.
to be sincere, it is challenging. I am just fortunate that I have a supportive
Family
wife
members.
who understood everything and understood the sacrifice required.
So it will
I
be me saying big thanks to our dear wife now. Big thanks
Oh,
for
it's a very
supporting my
big thank
Oga.
you. Yeah, it's a big thank you.
Yeah.
I can say that over again. You need the support. And what I've done is the extra hours I put in, I've gone. Those are the hours I converted to school because I want to make sure I'm still performing optimally at
Hmm.
work, at school, and at home. So that was the sacrifice.
Hmm.
It's not easy, especially because all Africans have two families, family in the UK or wherever you are, and family back home.
Yes, or
There will
more.
always be calls
Thank you
or
so
more.
much.
Yeah.
Now, what are the prospects in this project?
Okay. So I would say career fulfillment is the main prospect of this because you're going beyond, you're transcending, let me use that word, beyond your previous level of practice to a more independent and autonomous role. For people who love to have such, that's one of the fulfillment you will have. You understand? You're still working as a member of a team, but then there's a different level of independence that you are having. Mind you, for you to practice at this level, you must be well experienced, knowledgeable, and very careful in what you do. So that to me is the biggest career fulfillment. And because you can actually advance from advanced nurse practitioner to go to the consultancy level, if you choose to do that, which is equivalent of a PhD level. So that's one of the prospects. Also, you could choose to diversify into education. As an advanced nurse practitioner, you could also lecture because we take education modules as part of our training. So you could lecture if you want to. I have a few of my friends who lecture on part time and then they still work. So the other prospect is you're going level higher in your career. At most hospitals will give you a band 8 in the NHS. And I believe the financial information about all that is all over the internet. And if you go independent or private, you could choose to work in the GP surgeries. You could choose to work in walk-in centers, NHS 111. You could work in A&E, in same-day emergency services. There are just so many places. I have a friend who works on the boats, on a cruise ship. It's a different world entirely.
I said it. When
So,
I said you are big. See the kind of people you are chilling with. Big
well,
boys.
I wish I'm at their level.
You are running with them, so you are not too far from them. You are not. You
I'm a
are even
student.
part of them, my brother. You are part of them.
I I wish. I mean, but to be honest, if it's the finance, the finance depends on what you want to do. You could be earning as say 47 in a year. It depends. If you move into some other sectors, you could go 57, 60. If you're going private or independent practice, you'll be going 3, 4, 5, 6 digits, depending on what you do. I think that's all I can say in that
Three,
regard.
four,
But
five, 6 digits.
it depends on what you want to do and
Wow,
how far
it's
you're
it's
willing
a
to
place
go.
of be what you want to be.
You could also decide to establish privately on your own. If you, it depends on what you can do, what you want to do, resources you have, people you have at your disposal. So
Thank you
that's
so
the way it
much.
really works. Yeah.
Thank you. I don't think there's any nurse who's going to listen to this in the United Kingdom. I would not just want to make effort, especially if they are coming from the backgrounds we all came from, because it's a place of getting that actualization, Abraham Maslow's
Yeah.
theories.
Hierarchy of needs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a very beautiful one, and you've broken down everything, and you've politically or used your political brain to push me into not asking about what's the what's the
Financial.
financial gain in this. So I'm not going to trouble you on that, except
Oh
if
no,
you
no.
want
If
me
you
to.
if you want me to talk about that, financial gain is as same in civil service. You could be working to basically, if it's what I see online on Indeed and Co, you would see people pay as low as 47. Some pay with their employer as much as 60, 70. But those who go private earn more because it's private. It goes more than that. So what time and what effort you can put in will push you to what extent you want to go to. And there are people who actually co-own facilities. People have their own facilities and training schools, even as ACPs. Like a friend who wants a cosmetology school, registered, train people, licensed to train people. I cannot be saying what she has staffs working under her, permanent staff. So if somebody is operating at that level, you could understand how, I mean, it depends on the business entity you want to put into it, to be honest.
It's so much interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you did everything calmly. Everything kept sinking nicely. Mr. Kazim, I
Thank
must
you.
really say that I appreciate you. You are a big force to reckon with in the field of clinical nursing
Oh,
practice. I
I'm a small
appreciate
boy
you.
just trying to find my fate in life.
You are doing well, my brother. You are really doing
Thank
well.
you.
Yeah, I can only wish you more grace. Um,
Thank you.
except you've got some other things to add for us. I think you've touched virtually anything or everything I could think about. But then, if my people at home will be asking questions in the comment sections, I will so much appreciate that you help us to put in answers. I will let you know if there
Oh,
are
yeah,
questions being asked.
that's
Permit me
fine.
to say
That's fine.
that being in your presence is quite refreshing. Thank you so much for being who you
Oh,
are.
thank you. The pleasure is mine.
I appreciate. Warmest regards to my dear sister who's making every area conducive for you to grow. And I wish
Yes,
her
so
all the best. And the kids too, I wish them all the best.
thank you.
Thanks for
Thank
your
you so much,
time.
Master.
I
And
appreciate.
well done for all you do.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate your program. It's been a good platform to enlighten people on a lot of things going on.
Thank you,
For
sir.
many people moving from one country to the other, there are a lot of information that are there, but we can't see. So your platform has been a good one to really enlighten and educate people. Well done, I say.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate. Have a very beautiful day, sir.
And you too.
Thank
And you
you.
too.
Hopefully next
Thank
time
you.
if we need your efforts, you'll still be very happy to come around.
Always,
Thank
always, anytime.
That's a promise. Always.
I
That's very
promise.
sound.
Always, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm grateful.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye.
bye.